but it's not in my nature to give up on things. So I kind of like moped around for like a night, and then the next day I was like, I need to go to a voice coach right now. I brought no experience to this role. Obviously, they said a huge part of this is you have to sing. And I had never sang before. You know, my husband plays guitar and we'll kind of like sing songs together, like with a very like head kind of part of my voice. I never really knew what it felt like to sing out or to belt or anything. And sometimes when you're an actor and you really want to do something, you tell them you can do it. This happens often, and I often talk about it in interviews, and I feel like I still get away with it. But so they were like, can you sing? I was like, yeah. So I like sat there and had a voice note thing with my husband, and I was like, what song do I sing? I don't even know how to sing. Like, what do I do? We just started singing through songs. He sang with me, and to be completely honest, I wouldn't have done it had he not told me I could do it. He was like, you can absolutely do this. You just need to train yourself. You have a good ear, and I think if you worked at it, you could do it. And I was kind of going, oh God, I don't know. So I went to the voice coach, and he taught me to belt. He really did. Like I don't know what happened. Like I went in and sang a Lynyrd Skynyrd song. I sang Simple Man. I just did it, and I sent it in, and it wasn't particularly amazing, but I think they could hear that I could get there. But you know, you fake it till you make it. I just walked in there, I was like, yeah, I sing. What?
The music aspect of this project was definitely very daunting. I was cast, and they put a guitar in my hand, said we're going to teach you the guitar. I was like, okay. The project was meant to happen before COVID, and I think we had like 4 weeks before we started filming, like from when I was cast. And I was like, I need to learn guitar in 4 weeks. And they're like, yeah, so you're going to be playing on this song, this song, this song. I was like, do you mean I'm playing guitar and singing? I mean, I can barely sing, let alone play guitar. It was a brutal time, and I spent so many hours on my own in a house, like just with my guitar. And I can hold one now, you know, I can strum a few chords. I'd done musicals, but my knowledge of music and even recording and performing with a microphone, and all of that was brand new to me. And so I think the process of recording the songs and going through that process was incredibly insightful. I had like singing coaches and, you know, all sorts of people kind of helping me, and I genuinely could not have done it without any of them. And what I've sort of realized or found out about myself is that I'm quite a good impersonator. They wanted my voice to sound like this person. I was like, all right, I'll just copy his voice, you know, and that's kind of how we found the sound.
Well, I've played guitar since I was like 10. My dad was a guitar player, so I got to learn from him growing up a lot, and it was the only instrument that no one made me play, so it was the only instrument that I wanted to play. I remember getting this audition though, and there was the musical component, and I hadn't touched my guitar in a minute, and I was in my room for like 2 hours trying to get that song they sent me right. But in terms of like how it's improved, it's like leaps and bounds. I have to copy the parts of Blake Mills, who's like a virtuosic guitar player. He's really good at guitar. So it was a tall order for sure. I heard some of them and I'm like, I don't even get it. But we got there eventually, and it's been really fun.
So I played the drums when I was a kid in like my teenage years, and less so as an adult, but I don't have any drumsticks. But match grip is, you know, when you play this way, that's how I grew up playing. But I switched to traditional, which is like a marching band or like jazz style. And I came up with a bunch of weird things for Warren that I feel like certain like drummers will notice. But for most people, it doesn't even make much of a difference. Like I play with timbale sticks, which are double butt end sticks, because I figured, you know, I was born in 1950, probably in another country. And then also have this really weird tilted snare and just a weird setup that is, I feel pretty good about, and I hope that people notice and are like, hey, you know?
I've been playing guitar since I was 11 years old. I've had a band called More Like Trees. I've always dreamt that I could kind of cross the two worlds, and I love learning new things as well. When I first found out about the role, I was particularly attracted to the fact that this was a music-based show. It's been really cool having the opportunity to learn a new instrument because I'm a guitarist normally, and so for this I was able to learn the bass with the help of Ryan Hommel, who's a fantastic guitar teacher.
Teddy does make a surprise guest appearance on one of the tracks. We actually filmed me playing an instrument, but I won't say what it is. You'll just have to. Oh, what the hell! I had to learn to play the glockenspiel. The glockenspiel. The glockenspiel. You know, I mean, the only thing I can say behind that is Nox den Dalla Katzengrau. You know, it was fun because Frankie said, you know, there's a glockenspiel. Do you want to play the track? And so I took lessons. I practiced at home. I took a glockenspiel home. And for those of you who don't know what a glockenspiel is, look it up.
Stop. It's an E major, Chief. And you, Thundersticks.
Yes,
Where'd you get those tree trunks?
they're my grandfather's.
Easy on those fills, yeah? This isn't jazz.
I'll never forget my audition process. They said, Sam, we need you to pick a 70s rock song. I was like, I don't know any 70s rock songs. I chose Elton John, Your Song, which, let me tell you, is not a rock song, but you know. But I think I went on a website or like a compilation disc that said 70s rock songs, and it was on there, so I was like, it must be a rock song. So I chose Your Song by Elton John. I'll never forget Tony Berg listening to it going, I've got another one. I've got another, you know, and he came in with his guitar. I went, just forget Elton John. I'm gonna play you Come Together. And he started playing. He said, do you know this song? I was like, that's Come Together by Michael Jackson, right? And he's like, no, the Beatles. I was like, oh, right. So I think Tony Berg has been there from the very beginning of my musical journey. I think back at it and laugh now, but that's how much I knew back then, and I can now tell you that who the Beatles are. It's Mick Jagger, and
A lot of it was like doing research from the period and also before, like what did Warren grow up with? You know, I watched like Papa Joe Jones, like jazz drummers who play with this weird setup, and like Tito Puente and Ginger Baker and stuff like that Warren would have seen and been inspired by, and then like try to create like an identity using that kind of stuff, and it's just so much fun.
For that next year, it felt like all we did was practice. If my hands were red and raw by the time I got to bed, I knew it was a good day.
we all arrived, I think it was like the end of February of 2021. Or was it 2020? Oh my God, it's so long ago. You know, none of us knew anyone, and you know, we were like, Will was fresh out of drama school, like he was brand new to the world and wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. I remember we had like one dinner where we all were together and met and introduced to one another and kind of got to know each other. And then the pandemic hit, you know, and I think we all sort of, I sort of went home to be with my kids, and some people stayed here, but we were all kind of scattered. But thank God for Zoom, because, you know, we were all able to stay in contact, and we were all part of like a group WhatsApp, and we were all staying in touch and talking throughout the whole sort of year and a half of lockdowns. And you know, a few times we connected sort of video chats, and then we were all recording like mime videos to the songs, and then like someone was piecing them all together.
There was a time I asked everybody to film themselves playing their part along to a click track, and then we would kind of simulate doing rehearsals. I'd do a video of myself playing the song through on bass to a click, then send that on and get everybody to record themselves playing along to that, and then we stitch it together to make, so you know, it's as if we're all playing in the room together. So that was interesting. We did a lot of different things to try and keep the music alive through the pandemic.
Then we had this band camp set up that Frankie was running. It's at Sound City across the street. And we had Frankie, we had Ryan, we had Kane, we had Malcolm and Evan and Sam. And they were over there kind of running our band camp. So that was the kind of the everyday running through the songs. We also had voice coaches, you know, we had Eric Vitro and we had this woman Rosemary, and then we had Malcolm McRae. So we'd get there at 9 and we'd have a vocal warm-up, then we'd do me singing and then me and Sam singing and then the whole band together, and then piano depending on, you know, if I have a piano song, or just kind of that for what feels like 2 years because it was pre-COVID, and then after the pandemic sort of settled down.
Kind of my point person throughout this whole project has been Ryan Hummel, who is a fantastic guitar player and guitar teacher. I think the biggest thing that I had to learn was a lot of fingerpicking stuff, which was definitely popular at that time and something that I had little experience with. But you know, it's like doing the bass line and the melody line at the same time, which gets really tough, but is really fun to learn and really satisfying when you get it right.
With Blake and Tony, I mean, they were fantastic, like, as a resource. If there was anything in any of the mixes of the songs that any of us had like an issue with, they were super receptive to like changing things and adjusting things and tweaking things, because we have multiple different versions of the songs recorded, like when we're live, when it's a studio version. You know, in the show we perform a bunch of songs like over and over again, and you kind of want to hear something different as it goes on.
When I found out that Blake Mills was making this music, he's kind of like one of the greatest guitarists that are alive right now. It's kind of nuts. He's played within the genre of the 70s and come up with actually like a very specific sound and writing style for us. Rehearsal period, like, because I was really, really beginner, I bought a lot of stickers off Amazon and literally had like C, D, you know, stuck, had like notes for all the way up the piano. And then it was about 3 hours a day for the first 3 months. And that was really just getting acquainted. And then we started getting in together and putting the pieces together. And it was really fun actually in those first few months, because Riley would come in or one of the boys would come in and we'd actually just sit there and try and work them out on how to play it all together. And then we would move into a bigger room and have a group practice every day, and then get Riley and Sam singing, and that was an amazing process, like seeing them learn the songs, then they go and record them. Suddenly we had these recordings.
I hadn't really ever been taught to play a bass, and so it surprised me, I suppose, that there's different areas that you would play and the different sounds that you can get out of playing on the neck versus down here. I mean, that transfers to guitar as well, which I kind of knew innately, but it really advanced the way that I play bass now. And now I can play bass on my own records, which is cool. With confidence, at least. I used to do it, and then I'd be like, I don't know why it doesn't sound good.
It's interesting because at first the goal was to make us appear as if we were good musicians, but we ended up having 1.5 years to prepare. And so we went from doing that to just, you know, becoming actual good musicians. Like I am a pretty good drummer now. Instead of looking like I'm trying to get it right all the time, I'm just kind of having a good time back there, you know?
Having that much time to like hang out together and just be in the same room and understand people's vibes and everyone's dynamic was huge. Now that we're shooting, you can definitely feel the influence of all that time spent together.
I'm so taken aback sometimes when we're doing a scene and the record will come on and like they sound so incredible and the music's so great, and I said the other day, I'm like, can you believe this is like your actual record? Like we have an album and you guys are singing on it and you sound like amazing rock stars. It just blows my mind.
Honestly, it's an amalgamation of so many people, so much hard work, and so many great minds coming together. You know, Frankie, you know, pulling all the strings, Ryan, being the driving force and kind of the spokesperson on behalf of all of us as actors. Tony kind of, I mean, literally, I could, the amount of laughs that I've had with that man in a studio, but you know, he changed me from a musical wannabe, stage star to a rock star.
The prep we put in has enabled us to, do things on a whim. And at the time we were working so hard that I think some of us were like, oh my God, like what are we doing? But now we're able to play a song we've never played before and get it right in a day. To go from not being able to play an instrument or sing to being able to function in a band in a way that feels authentic, I feel the most proud of that.
I don't know who I am.
What?
Do we need
What?
Do we need the audience?
You mean the band?
Is she talking about us?
It's our song.
I mean, that was crazy to walk in on that first day back because we'd spent so much time at Sound City. And of course, you see all these old pictures of Sound City. And, you know, we walked back in and it was right back to that. It was pretty remarkable what they did with it. So many legends have recorded legendary songs there, and just a really cool space to be in.
I think the audience is really going to be seduced by the level of expertise of the craftsmen around this production. The production design, there were a ton of practical sets. Like Teddy's house is actually my favorite set. Sound City, they were recreating it of the 70s. The Whiskey A Go-Go, the cars, and then there's the wardrobe, the hair, the makeup. All of these things are done at an extremely high level with particular attention paid to the 70s without being cliche, because there are some productions in which you sit and you watch at home and, you know, they're doing the 70s, but they're doing it in such a broad fashion, such an over-the-top style that those of us who lived in the 70s know it just wasn't like that, you know. There's a high degree of subtlety to the sets, the costumes, and the makeup and the hair on this show, and that detail I really appreciate as a performer.
It helps so much. It helps your performance to be in these locations, to be able to film in Sound City, which easily could have been built on a stage. You can feel the history.
It makes it so much easier. You're not imagining what it would be like. You know, when you're on a set, a million background performers with their long hair and mustaches and their 70s groovy suits on, you don't even have to think about it. You're just like, I am here. This is like, I'm on another planet. I've just traveled through time, you know? And so when I remember we went to the Viper Lounge and they dressed it up like it used to be, you know, Filthy McNasties. And actually, I found out that I think that this production was the first production to shut down Sunset in the last 30 years. And we had this sequence where we're driving in our van and getting to LA for the first time and we're going crazy. It was just like surreal. You know, we're on the back of this huge trailer and we're all like singing and stuff. Our voices, I completely lost my voice shooting that sequence.
I always think it's fascinating, the skills of the art department and all the departments really on anything period, you know, and to see things like areas of the Sunset Strip completely sort of reshaped to look back like what they were in the 70s is just fascinating to me, really. The authenticity on this job has been just astounding.
I've never really spent time researching the 70s. I now feel like I live in the 70s. I mean, every day I turn up to work and, you know, it's 70s settings, 70s wallpaper, 70s clothes, 70s pants. As much as the boots are very uncomfortable, I have really grown to love it. The sort of scale of this production has been incredible. I believe the 70s is going to make a comeback after this show. I hope so, anyway. I'd love to see people in flares.
We must have written 8 or 9 songs the first couple weeks. I would have an idea and then he'd flesh it out, or he would come up with a riff and I'd come up with a melody line.
When you're making an album, any album, it's an intimate thing.
Oh.
That's a really hard question.
It's difficult because we've lived with them for so long and only recently we've had 2 new songs added. So part of me is like those 2 because I haven't listened to them every day for 2 years. But I think there's one song that we as a band have a tendency to enjoy playing the most, and that's called Kill You to Try.
Wait, what's the one that's like, show me, I'll blind myself to the end. Boy, would it kill you to try.
It has this really weird beat. It's like a ton of toms, it's like super intense. It goes through so many chapters and there's a million fills and it's a crazy song. Whenever we actually play through the song, I'm just like sweating and like banging on all these drums, it's wild.
There's something about that song where I think everyone feels like in their element.
Do you know why I love that song so much? Because Riley comes in, there's this amazing part where she's like, show me, and it's just so powerful and like every time it just gets me.
I love The River because we haven't played that one a lot thus far, and I feel like every time we get a new song, we love that one the best because we haven't like played it 10,000 times yet, you know?
Honestly, I love all the songs on the show for different reasons. There's one called Regret Me that was an instant kind of hit with all of us because it's really fun to play and also it's a good tune. But Please, for some reason, I don't know, I feel like it's the underdog. All the other songs are so kind of rock heavy, whereas this one was a little more reserved and laid back, but I feel like it's epic. It's really good to turn up really loud and sing on the freeway in your car along to that one. Try it when the album comes out.
Do you think it's time to add a little fire?
Don't overthink it. I'm the fire.